to record this presentation, and a little bit or later this evening, I'll shoot an email out that includes a link to be able to view that recording, and you can pass that on to whomever you'd like. Finally, looking through the roster today, all 200 or so of us are from places around Virginia. We're all supporting each other's students. We're all in this together, and those are the mindsets I like to move forward with. So just a real quick heads up about where we're headed. We're going to start off with why we need community, talking through the importance of being able to stay engaged with people. Then we're going to look at Google Meet, and this is a tool that has become more widely used and more widely available in the last few weeks. Finally, we're going to spend the majority of our time looking at Flipgrid. And this has been a very popular section of our presentation. People have really enjoyed the Flipgrid part, so I'm excited to spend some time there with you today. So the very first thing, we're going to be looking at community and why community matters. I've heard it again and again from different principals and leaders and teachers right now. Being able to look at, we need to be able to start with Maslow and then get to Bloom. So on the right-hand side, here is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, knowing that we need to take care of our students, physiological safety, and love and belonging before we get into the academic part. So today is really going to be focusing on how we can help to foster that love and belonging. How can we make them feel emotionally safe, and other pieces like that. Now, with that, of course, a huge caveat, we need to also look inward about those things. So make sure that you are well as you continue to try and serve other people. Now, I asked some of my favorite experts about why we need community. And if you click on this link on slide 8, it's going to take you to the responses that these experts told me. And, oh, my big reveal right here, those experts are you, okay? There's not one fount of knowledge in this group today. There are, let's see how many people, 137 contributors to this discussion. And so a couple days ago, I posed a question to y'all, why do we need community now? And in here, a lot of your peers went through and responded. So what we're gonna do over the next few minutes, and we'll take about 3 or 5 minutes to do this, you can, if you click on the link that we had, or you go to the address that's at the bottom here, head to this page, and you can either record a response by clicking on this big plus sign, and it will walk you through how to record a response, or if you so choose, you can just click and start watching other people's responses. When you get in and start watching other people, look how easy it is to move from one to the next. So here, I'm playing the one from Meredith, and I can bounce over to our next one, which is Jordan, and just continue going through and seeing all these great ideas from each other. So again, right now it's 2:38. We're gonna take 4 minutes to do this, so we'll come back together at 2:42, and I'll put the link back up on the screen so that you can do this.
Adam, I did it, but I don't think I actually downloaded it correctly or to the right place.
Sorry, Beverly, is your response in here?
I don't know if I got it, if I actually downloaded it. Is it there?
I'm not seeing it right now. You do have some time. If you'd like to re-record, you can. Or if instead you just want to spend some time looking through the other responses, I think either of those would be good uses of your time.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So about 2 more minutes, and we'll come back together. Just a quick note, I see in the chat that there's a talk about the certificates from yesterday. So the program that we use has a limit to the number of emails and certificates that it can send per a day. Because we did 2 large sessions yesterday, we easily reached that limit. So I know it's stressful, but I do want you to feel confident that you will get that certificate if you submitted yesterday, and you'll get it over the next couple days. I'll continue to crack away. We do have another big session right now, so we'll get there eventually, and you will have your certificate that you can turn in and get credit. Thank you for your patience with that. All right, so let's go ahead and come back together at this point. And I'm going to go ahead and invite, I'd love to hear from a few different people about some of the themes that you heard as you're going through and listening to each other. So if you'd like, you can unmute yourself. And again, we'll hear from just a couple people about what your classmates were talking about. And I am a fan of wait time, even distance learning wait time. But I would like to hear from a few brave people.
Adam, this is Lindsay.
Hi, Lindsay.
Hi. It seems like a lot of us have very similar wavelengths, and that it's necessary not just for learning, but for our mental health and our students' mental health. Mm-hmm. And that some of these kids need it. They need to hear that they're wanting to be heard from. And we need to be heard that we are needed in our community.
I can definitely, I definitely agree with that. So knowing how much of our culture is being social and—
Okay, come on the counter.
And that by being able to use a tool like Flipgrid to be able to connect with our students does allow for that social piece and to be able to give every student a voice, which is incredibly important. Beverly, were you trying to share something with us too?
Several times right in my face.
All right, let's hear from maybe one more person about some of the themes that we heard.
I think that it sounded to me like several people were saying that it creates sort of a feeling of that support network or safety net. I mean, obviously that relates to the mental health component, but the community is not just a physical infrastructure. It's part of what supports us as intellectual people.
That's absolutely correct. So thank you both for sharing, and thank you for all the people who contributed. I do want to just quickly note, there's a lot of creativity in here. You guys had a lot of fun with the filters that were going on, and 2020 and Chester Cheetah and Kermit the Frog. So lots of cool things in here. So we are going to shift gears just a little bit, and I'd like to hear from you, again, maybe like 2 or 3 people, about your experience using the platform of Flipgrid. I'm sure for a lot of you, it was probably your first time doing that. So however you'd like to reflect on that experience, I'd love to hear from a couple people.
This is Karen Lloyd.
Hi.
Hey, so I've never used it, but I've been binge learning since the school shut down, and every forum I've been on keeps going back to this this particular application. So I'm excited to be here. Sorry.
Oh, good. Absolutely. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Hi, Adam. It's Darla Martinez. I am new to Flipgrid, and so today was my first time doing it, and I found that I had to re-record several times because I could not get everything I wanted to say in 30 seconds.
Yeah, so it does encourage us to, I'm going to put it nicely, self-edit a little bit, right? Like be succinct.
Absolutely.
I I used to be an English teacher, so that was always a skill that I worked with my students on. So a cool thing in the background that you can do if you are the teacher is you can set what time limit your students are going to have. I think it can go from 15 seconds, maybe 10 seconds, all the way up to 10 minutes. And you can choose a lot of different levels within that. I wanted to do 30 seconds just to get that very basic introduction. But yeah, I definitely can sympathize with that.
Good to know. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Adam,
You,
this
go ahead.
is Susan Kermit.
Hi. Oh yeah.
Hi. I actually made an account because I can't follow directions like the students because I've never done this before. And then I realized you went into the actual link. So I actually learned how to make make an account and all of that. So I definitely learned something new.
Awesome. So Susan, thank you for sharing that. And if you're hearing this and you're the other classmates who aren't Susan or Kermit the Frog, we will walk through how to create an account in just a little bit. So I hope, Susan, you found that it was pretty straightforward.
It was. My teenage daughters use this all the time because I had to ask them what was a Flipgrid, and they said something to do with making movies, and that's all I got. So here I am.
Making movies. Cool. All right. Well, thank you all for sharing and reflecting with me. We're going to bounce back to our presentation and kind of little strangely, we're going to head into Google Meet for a little bit and then return to Flipgrid so that we can really spend a lot of time there. So, we're back in our slides. You can go back to viewing my screen. And we're going to look at Google Meet. This is a video conferencing app from Google that can have up to 250 participants joining, like what we have right now. And it can have up to 100,000 viewers who can't interact, but would just simply be able to watch. So this could be a platform, or YouTube Live might be a good platform if you're trying to do graduation and have it play in real time. But Meet is an amazing tool. It connects directly to Google Classroom. It is secure. We did have some questions about the security of it in our demonstration on Tuesday when we were looking at Google Classroom. I've spent some more time in there, so we will readdress that, that concern. Meet is free, and it has a lot of accessibility tools. So we're going to be looking at all of that. It was recently rebranded from Hangouts Meet to Google Meet. So if you hear Hangouts, those terms are kind of interchangeable, but Google Meet is the official name now. So yeah, there is an elephant in the room, and it's why are we using Zoom when Google Meet is the topic for our lesson today? And it's actually because of how secure Meet is. I'm unable to bring in people from all over Virginia with all these different accounts to my Meet because of how locked down our settings can be. Now with Zoom, I can have it wide open, and by using a password, I can get everybody in. But with Meet, I run into a few more restrictions with that. So when we look at Meet in Google Classroom, I am going to bounce out of the presentation for a little bit and go to one of my classes. So right now I'm in a Google Classroom. You'll notice here I have my banner, has my class name, has the class code, and then directly beneath that, it has my Meet link. If on your screen in Google Classroom you don't have that, I want to show you very quickly how we can bring it in. So I would go up to the settings icon in the top right, scroll down past the class information, and get to the general part. So right here, this should be a pretty new section of your settings. It came live about a month ago. And in here, I can make the link, currently it's visible to my students, but if I don't want them to use this feature, I can just turn it off and never have to worry about it. But I believe that Meet's an incredible tool that I would want to use with Google Classroom. So I'd have it turned on. And what I would probably do is turn that link on a couple minutes before our scheduled time to do a class conference. And once I click on that, it would be live for our kids. They would come into Classroom and be able to click on it and join our Meet. So I want to show you what that looks like. So as the teacher, I would just click the Meet link. It's going to launch. And when I'm all set, when this loads, It's going to ask me if it can use my camera. I'm not going to be able to let it use my camera because my camera is being used in Zoom, but I will join right now. So now I'm in here in Google Meet. It gives me this information. I can copy the joining info and get it to other people, but I want to show you what happens when I try to take this link and bring it into my regular Google account. And I hope that this works the way I'm expecting it to, because I tried this a couple minutes ago and it behaved the way I thought it would. So here it's getting ready. Check your meeting code. You need to be entered in. You need to make sure you entered the correct meeting code. So it's not letting me get in there. And this is exactly how we want it to behave, that our students would have to be members of our class, be part of that roster in order to access our Meet. So I'm going to bounce back to Meet right now. I'm in here, and at this point, I'm going to show you some of the different things that this tool can do. So I'm turning on the microphone. Can't find it. Again, it's because we're using it for Zoom right now. But look at these options that I have. I can turn on captions, and it's going to live caption at the bottom of my screen as we're talking, or as one of the other participants is talking. In here, I can also present now and do my entire screen, or if I need to do just a video or an animation, I can present an individual tab. That would also work well for like audio. And then I have these 3 dots. In most Google tools, if you see 3 dots, there's going to be some magic behind the scenes. So I'm going to go ahead and click there. Check these options out. I can record my meeting and be able to post this somewhere else in the future. Probably it goes to Google Drive, and then I can post it in my classroom or on a website. I can change the layout to tiled. I know that's a favorite option for a lot of people in Zoom, so you can make that a choice too. That is a new feature based on requests from teachers. And those are kind of the main things that we'd want to be able to look at. The other part is if we had more than one person in here, I could mute them if I needed to. So we can all think of maybe a student who is still working on those social skills of being able to know when to contribute and what would be appropriate, but you can mute them. You can remove them as well if you needed to. So if someone who somehow was not part of your roster, you needed to get rid of them, you could do that. There is a chat in here that you can monitor and put information out to everybody. And the other thing that you can do is add attachments. So if there is a presentation you want all of your students to look at, that information can come in here too. So again, Google Meet, super easy to use. When you're all done, you would leave the call. And what I would encourage you to do after you're done with this meeting, come back to your classroom, go to your settings, and then first make it where it's not visible anymore, and then reset it. This way, if your students try to go back into that meeting link, they won't be successful, and they'll have to wait until you reopen it to be able to engage with each other. That way, you can always be in control of what they're seeing. So that is just a real quick run through of how I would use Google Meet if I were in the classroom right now. We are going to go back and look at some other resources that I have available in our slides. So in here, I have a video from a friend of mine named Eric Kurtz, he's an educator in Ohio. And so he made an entire YouTube playlist about Google Meet. And he did this about a month ago when they started integrating with Classroom. So it is very current and a good place to start. Continuing on, there are really 2 different places to set up a Meet that I would encourage you to engage with. The first we've already looked at with Google Classroom. If you don't see that option, you'd want to reach out to your district's technology department and have them, it's a 1-button click that they'd have to do to be able to get that integration going for you. The other way that we can start a Meet is by going to Google Calendar. And in here, when I make an event, so I'll hit create, and that pops open slowly. I have a lot running right now. So when I make my event, I would just hit add Google Meet video conferencing, and whoever I add to this event would have that link in there too. And all they'd have to do is click on it and be able to join. And that one allows up to 100 participants. And I think that should be plenty for most of our lessons. Again, very easy to be able to launch either of these ways. Okay, so some other things that we can do, and these are all linked to different resources that you can use when you're working with your kiddos. Recording a meeting, you saw how easy it was, clicking the options, and then it was the very first one. Managing the other users' mics. You can't turn on someone's mic if it's turned off. You can't, I don't know if you can adjust videos or not. I think you can, but you, again, can't turn them on, you can turn them off. And then finally, how to do closed captioning. So all of these will link to help guides made by Google that should be able to assist with anything you need to do. And I put coming soon when I originally made these, but they're now live, being able to do the grid view of participants up to 16 at a time. And then also integration with Gmail. If that's not there quite yet, I think it's supposed to be live this week, but within the next few weeks, it will definitely be present that you can launch a meeting directly from there. All right, and finally, Eric Kurtz, we had the link to his YouTube playlist. You can go and check it out. Again, probably like 8 different videos running through every nuance of this tool. Okay, so at this point, we're going to continue into Flipgrid. We'll spend about 20 minutes here trying to hit every last thing that we can, and then we'll come back and do a little wrap up. All right. Oh, we have a buddy. Hi, Carter. Okay, we're continuing community right here. Yeah, bud. Okay, so Flipgrid, the basic description is it's threaded video discussion, right? So with this, I posted a question and then all of my students are responding to it. And we saw, hi buddy. You wanna say hi to everyone? You want a cookie?
Hey, Carter.
Right now.
Hi.
Oh, people are saying hi to you. Hi.
Hi, Carter. How are you?
Okay, you're the hero right now, aren't you? So I don't know if you guys noticed this, but in Flipgrid, oh, it's a very good hat. You got your Who's hat. So in Flipgrid, a few of you responded to each other, which is a really cool option that we can turn on or off. There is the option of doing a screen recording, and just like with Meet, it is secure, it is free, and it has a lot of accessibility tools that we'll look at as well. So I'm going to skip this video for now, but know that it is available, that you can go back to it in the future. It is just a real quick introduction. I want to make sure we have enough hands-on time in the platform. So I know that a lot of you have you serve younger students at K2 or even pre-K group, and not all of them have email addresses. So what I would encourage you to do when you're in creating your grid, it gives you the choice of tying it to a student email account, or it gives you the option of student IDs. And with this, you will create a list of students. Let me text my wife real quick and try to get her to grab this fella. Okay. Cool. So when you do this, it allows you to choose how you want to do your identifier for your kiddos. You can do it by first name, you can do it by last name. If you have an ID number or a lunch number, you can do that. I kind of like the idea of let every student pick their superhero name and let that be their identifier. So it's not tied to any real identifying information about them whatsoever, and it can be kind of fun. This also will give each student a QR code. This is more of a helpful feature when you're back in your classrooms. Maybe you have iPads in your class and they could just scan and post that way. You do have that, that's right. And finally, you can also invite families or other, I have no idea, it's your mama's. Okay, so now we're gonna head to Flipgrid. What I'd like you to do on slide 20, either click flipgrid.com. I have no idea. Okay, so either go to flipgrid.com or click the link that's on slide 20. I'm going to be right back. And actually, let me get you started with the sign-in process. In the top right-hand corner, once you get to Flipgrid, you'll see educator sign up. Go ahead and run through that process. It should be pretty self-explanatory, and I'll be right back in just about a minute. All right, so I'm going to head to one of my Flipgrid accounts. So once you get into your account, you'll probably see something like this, and it might even prompt you to create your first grid. Flipgrid has a unique vocabulary, okay? So we will need to kind of unpack that a little bit. A grid is kind of like your classroom or whatever learning community you want to do. So I know that there are a couple art teachers in here. You may not, and especially if you're an elementary one, you may not want to make a class or a grid for each and every teacher's class that you support. You might do, here are my kindergarten grids, here's my first grade grids, and things like that. So once you're ready to make a grid, you'll click Add New Grid. And that comes into this view, and we're going to walk through it real quick. So the very first thing, we have to give it a name. So this, for me, might be Disciples third grade class. My wife is a third grade teacher, so I thought I'd use that. Then the next thing is, how are they going to access? For the most part, you're going to be doing one of these first two. The school email is if your kids regularly use a Microsoft or Google account. I know that's pretty common when we get to third grade and higher. Some schools might be even younger than that. So a lot of us are going to pick this option, but like we talked about just a couple moments ago, you can do that student ID option if your kids do not have that email address. Continuing down, it does let you give a custom flip code. It will give you a random one, but these need to be unique. So I can't do like flipgrid.com/school because I'm guessing that was taken pretty early on. If you leave it blank, it will give you a random one and you'll be good to go. So for me, I'm going to click school email and then next. So this next screen, okay, you can have a snack. Yeah. This next screen is pretty important because especially, or this is important if you are using one of those school accounts, it's asking for what is your domain. And domain, if you're like, I don't know what that means, it's whatever comes after the @ sign in your email address. So for where I work, it's k12albemarle.org. And most often a school will just have one domain, but sometimes they'll have one for teachers and one for students. So that's just a little heads up. You'd want to enter in any of these ats that you potentially could be using. Mine's all set, so I'm ready to hit next. And my grid is ready. I do want to camp out on this screen for just a second. So it says, let's kickstart the discussion. It gives me 5 different ways that I can easily share this to somebody else. The first is it allows me to copy it. And I could put that into a newsletter to my to the parents I support. I can put it on a website. Lots of different ways that I could do that. I could drop it into Google Classroom by clicking right here. I know quite a few schools use Remind, and so you could click on this and it will help you to post pretty seamlessly. Because I know a lot of you are using Classroom, I will show that one though. So when I click on it, it's going to come up with this window and have all of my classes here. And I could just go through and say, I want it to be the fall 20, and then I can make this an assignment and hit go, and now it's posting it to them. So Flipgrid response and assign. And now my students, when they go to Google Classroom, will be able to just click on that link and be able to record their response. Once you have this information in, we're ready to go to our grid. So because we know that a grid is a like code for a class, once I have my class set up, I can add in a lot of different topics in here. So I might have one for reading groups, and everybody goes in and posts a response about that. I might have one just a weekly check-in. How are you doing? And my kids go through and record just personally how they're doing that particular week. So it doesn't have to be an academic sense. So in here, we're going to click Add New Topic. And we have to give it a title. So this would be, how is your week so far? We can do a prompt if we want, so that just kind of diving deeper into what the title is. This is the recording time. I think it was Darla who said that 30 seconds went very quickly. So in here, we can go from 15 seconds. Yeah. All the way. Here you go. Miles, do you know where your mom is? Okay, take your brother to mama. Okay, so we can go from 15 seconds all the way up to 10 minutes. 10 minutes is a really long video. So if you select 10 minutes, be prepared to watch all of your students give 10 minutes of a response. Over here, we have video moderation. This allows it to be private. Your other students can't see a post until you've approved it. So if your goal is to allow your students kind of that one-to-one communication where no one else has to see, kind of like a journal entry, you can have this checked and just never approve it to be able to go to the public sphere. So know that that is an option. Then in here, we can also add different types of focuses. So I can record a video. Maybe I want to explain the question to them, or just, hey, my week's been going okay. I want to know about your week. And you can record it directly in here. You can also upload a video, attach something from YouTube or Vimeo, put a GIF in there, add emojis, use any of these tools down here. I know throughout the last couple weeks that we have a lot of Wakelet, Nearpod, Kahoot fans, Newsela, so lots of great tools that are integrated directly in here. I do want you to click where it says more options. So in here, I don't really use topic tip, so I'm gonna keep rolling, continuing down. You can put links in here. Maybe you want them to read an article first. You could drop that in. We can choose when it's active. So if I want it to be just active from tomorrow through the 22nd, I can do that, and it will turn on right at 12:01 on the 15th and turn off at 11:59 on that last date. And I don't have to think through it ever again. It does it for me. Continuing down, we had the option of doing selfies and videos. Selfies were whatever static image we saw as we were looking through our classmates' responses. Being able to give titles, you can turn that on or off. Know your students, maybe set the expectation with them about what an appropriate title would be. You can also use hashtags to be able to search things, and we'll see a really good example of that from my friend Mari in just a couple moments. We can do video editing, so if you need to trim something, maybe you spoke for 35 seconds instead of 30 seconds, you can adjust it here. We can add a voting system, say, I really like it, or student-to-student replies, which I had turned on for our topic a couple minutes ago. Finally, we get into feedback. By default, the two areas of feedback, and it's just a really simple rubric, are ideas and performance, but you can make custom feedback. So if whatever your mind goes to, you can add that in here and be able to give a min and max score and give criteria and a description, and all of that would be available too. When you're all set, we would hit create. Oh, please find an address. Okay, so answer and create. So in just a second, my topic is ready. And just like we saw before, we get those same options, but now I also get a QR code. So if I were back in my classroom, I could put it on a certain book, or maybe what's the weather today, and they can scan it, whatever I want to do. But I would put this into my Google Classroom, post it into my newsletter or an email to parents, whatever it might be. All right, so you've done it. You have made your own grid. You've made probably your first topic or a question within it. Within this, we can also export data, which allows us to download the videos or share it to our Google Drive. I am going to bounce to another account just so we can see what it looks like on the teacher end once we have some videos. So in here, again, we have these different videos. Sorry, this is the one I want to do. My grids and what inspires you. So I get some data in here. Why do we need community now? We have 68 responses, 3 replies to each other. We have 1,216 views and over 9 hours of shared learning where people are watching each other. So really cool. I can also search. So if I'm looking for Ladisha's response, I can search for it, and I think she comes up right there. I could also, if it searches their titles too. So a couple different ways that we can search. Very, very easy to do. At this point, I'm going to bounce back to our slides just to make sure that I am touching on all the things that I want to get. I feel like we went pretty in depth with how to create our grid and how to create topics within it. Now, probably the more important thing, because I think you may have been able to figure out some of those things on your own. More importantly, how do we use it and why do we use it? So the very first one would be just a simple Q&A. I put a question and our students can respond to it. And sometimes they can see each other's, or I can make it private by doing the moderating option, and it just comes to me. The next thing that we can do is flipping it. So our learners right now are learning a lot of things outside the required content. They're learning from their parents, they're learning from their community. So how do we allow them to share it and be able to teach their peers or teach us? So that would be a really good way to go about it. Or we can be a student host and tell us about yourself. What is your favorite pet? And they're able to bring their pet in. Or what books have you been reading? Or what's your new favorite TV show? Whatever type of question you want, you can start to bring that in here too. We've already talked about the weekly check-ins, and really that is really hitting that social emotional piece. And then finally, a lot of people on social media have been talking about flip hunts lately. And I think these are awesome. So on the next screen, we're going to show you what that could look like. Just one example, again, from my friend Mari. And I like this example because it does use the hashtag option where here are a lot of different options for our students with how to engage about Earth systems. And as teams, they're going to earn points based on how challenging that task is. So they can earn 2 stars if they do hashtag plates, where they act out how tectonic plates move in convergent, divergent, and transform boundaries. Or they can earn 3 points if they act out how a volcano erupts. So again, this can be a lot of fun. We can see things in here, writing a haiku, making a list of 10 things families could include in a disaster preparedness kit. So lots of different ways they can engage with the content and then be able to share out through this platform. So this is from my friend Mari, an educator in Southern California. So they are a little bit more concerned about earthquakes and volcanoes than we might be here in Virginia. And you can follow her on social media by clicking her name at the top. Continuing on, I have a friend named Donnie who teaches, I think, 5th grade in Lexington, Kentucky. And his class last week did a talent show. And every student had 30 seconds to show a talent. And this student said, my talent is jumping off my shed into our river. And so he took 30 seconds and filmed that, and that was his talent that he shared. So you can make this as fun as you want, as academic as you want, lots of different ways. He shouted, "Quarantine got me like this" on his way in. You can have a lot of fun with this. And just like Mari, you can click Donnie's name and be able to follow him as well. All right, so if you're in my session yesterday when we were looking at choice boards and HyperDocs, a lot of you pointed out that you felt comfort in knowing you didn't have to start from scratch. And the Disco library is Flipgrid's response to depending on what other people have already done and being able to build from that foundation. So I'd like you to either click on the link that says Disco library, or you can do it since you're already in Flipgrid, you'll see at the top of the screen, we have things like mixtapes, grid pals, but I want you to go to Disco Library. And this has been, first of all, kind of a silly name, right? But has really been a standout part that a lot of people have identified as their favorite portion of our session today. So looking through here, these are topics that other people have already used and have contributed to the community. So the very first one that we see is learning from home. When we click on that, it's going to jump down to a lower part of the screen. And here are all these different questions about learning from home, building that community. So we've talked about weekly check-ins. You can use that. Almost 6,000 teachers have used that in the last couple months. Would you rather? So you can do some fun things in there, or book talks. And look how easy this is. If I want to use the All About Me, I'm just going to click on All About Me. Comes up, allows me to select which grid I want it to go to. I want it to go to Seipel's 3rd grade class, and then add. And from here, I can go and remix it to fit my students' needs, right? So I can change the title, change the prompt, adjust the amount of time. It says you have 60 seconds, and then the recording time's 1:30. So I'm going to knock that down to a minute. And when I'm all set, making whatever changes I need to, I'd hit update topic, and it's going to post. And now my students can respond to this question, and I didn't have to go through and find this picture or these emojis in here. They can start engaging with it. So heading back to the Disco Library, a couple other things that I want to showcase in here before you have a few moments to look around. We have some featured playlists in here, including from Wonderopolis or Flocabulary, Breakout EDUs, a favorite tool of mine. My 7-year-old loves Epic for accessing audiobooks and ebooks. Code.org, some really cool things in here. We get historic museums and the Met and state parks, and you can bounce through any of those and find some really cool resources to use with your kids. The other thing that we can do, right below those partners, we get almost 20,000 topics in the Disco Library. You can pick your audience. So I need it for preschool. My subject could just be beyond the classroom community, and it's going to filter to find exactly what I'm looking for. And you saw Carter a couple minutes ago. We could really work through some things with patience right now, both for him and me. And I could add that to my grid, and has a cool little video featuring Elmo that he'd probably respond to pretty well. So again, being able to use that filter and finding exactly what it is that we want to share with our students makes it very simple, and you're not alone. We do have an amazing community. There is an amazing community of Flipgrid users, and please depend on them, especially as you get started. You don't need to start from scratch. You can certainly do that if you want to, but depend on other amazing educators too. All right, so let's take about 2 minutes to explore the Disco Library, and then we'll come back together and you guys can kind of share out about what your one new thing is. What is one feature of this that you particularly like? Let's take another minute or so to explore, and then again, we'll come back together and share out about what we found. All right, so similar to how we did it before, if you could just, we'll hear from a few different people, if you could unmute your microphone for a second and just maybe share out about one question or one topic that you found that you would like to use with your kiddos.
This is David.
Hi, David.
So I went on to the search box and found Math with Harry, Volume of the Prism. I thought that was pretty cool. I had set up my own account yesterday after one of your sessions. I touched on Flipgrid, and so I just went into my account, and I didn't know how to use it yesterday, but I do now.
Yes.
So I found this thing, and I already added it to my collection. I thought that was pretty cool.
That's great. Thank you, David. Let's hear from maybe
if I
two
share
more
this,
people.
how do I share this with my kids?
Okay, so how do we share with our kids when we're in the My Grids page? So here I have all of my grids. I would click share, and I can post the entire grid to them or repeat that same process for an individual topic. So here, if I wanted to just share this one question, again, I'm clicking share, and I could copy that and paste it into a website, into an email to them. I can post it to Google Classroom or a learning management system with that link as well.
Sounds good.
Cool. Awesome. Anyone else want to share about a cool topic that you found in there?
I was just looking around at some of the different things under Learning from Home, and I just thought it was really cool that there's a read aloud option for some of the resources.
I love that too. So I know we have book talks. We have a couple other reading fluency. I know that that would be great for my son right now. Let me show you a couple things, and this kind of leads into it, our accessibility talk just a teeny bit. So if our students, let's see. So all throughout Flipgrid, they have this tool called Immersive Reader. So I can, any text that's in here, I can make it more accessible. So this could be helpful for some of your students maybe.
We've always had classroom communities.
We also have the option in here for reading preferences to be able to translate if we need to, or add a picture dictionary from Boardmaker, which is one of the leading accessibility resources. We also have grammar options, so I can highlight just the verbs or make each syllable separate. And just thinking through my 7-year-old, how helpful this type of resource could be for those literacy skills. We also have the choice, and we didn't really get into this a whole lot, your students don't have to record their face. They can put, just show their screen if they want to. And so that helps with some of the privacy concerns that some of our students legitimately have, right? All right, maybe let's hear from one more person, and then we'll continue on with our overview.
In my school division right now, we're all required to do the same lessons, same activities, same format across grade level, across subject area. So there's not a whole lot of flexibility in me trying to introduce this with my colleagues unless they're familiar with it. But every Wednesday I've been posting something in my Google Classroom stream to challenge them to do something different. So I really like this idea. I want to do the talent show thing, just let them kind of have an opportunity to do a spotlight on themselves, because I'm concerned when I have met with my students in Google Meet, how some of them have expressed how sad they are, how depressed they are, that sort of thing. They're 11 and 12-year-olds, so they're having a really hard time understanding this. So I really like the idea I can do something fun with them.
Yeah. Thank you, Eric. And I want to show you something that if right now you feel kind of constrained with how far outside the box you can go with your kids. This is something that we did. I primarily work at a high school. And so we wanted the faculty to be able to record shout outs to our seniors. And so we gave them this link, and 20 different teachers came in and gave a shout out. And we've since downloaded those and turned them into a video that we can share to our students. So lots of different ways that we can get this. We could also turn off being able to accept more responses and make this live where the kids could go in and watch it and be able to see those familiar faces, just saying, hey, we miss you, and whatever it might be. So I love that idea that you came out with, and Wednesday seemed to be a pretty special day in your classroom. So I think that's cool. All right, so we're going to bounce back to our slides and continue through the last few moments. So in here, we've already kind of done our share out about the ideas of how we can use this with our kiddos. We've also gone through the accessibility features. There is a video that you can watch on slide 26 if you want to learn more about it. So this is looking at how our students can access content in a few different ways, and they can express their knowledge or ideas. Someone earlier mentioned giving our students voice, and I feel like we definitely do that through Flipgrid. So at this point, I do want to just kind of pause and say thank you. You can connect with me at adamseipel@gmail.com or on Twitter if you'd like, and those are both linked here. I want to give thanks to Eric and John for being amazing moderators and helping throughout this entire series and being great thought partners too. Thank you to Vassal, Liza, and Pam for making this available for our teachers across the state for free. And finally, feedback. So if you would like to give me feedback, I would love to read it and look through it, respond to it through the next sessions that I do. I am making changes based on feedback that I get. You can head to bit.ly/VASCLBACK and fill out the feedback form. I'm not certain how quickly you'll get a renewal certificate. Again, I addressed this a little bit ago. We are running into some issues, but you will get it within the next couple days and be able to submit that to get 1 hour's worth of credit. At this point, once you get to the feedback, I am going to hang out here for a little bit where you can ask some more detailed questions, and I'll try to touch on as many of those as I can. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I had a really good time. I hope that you are inspired to use Flipgrid, use Meet to continue to reach out to your students. Thank you guys so much for being with me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adam.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it, Adam. It was fun.
Oh, good, Cindy. Thank you.
This was awesome.
Thanks, Andrea.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Are there any questions out there that you guys would like to talk through?
I just want to thank you for everything you've been doing.
You're welcome, David. Thank you for joining and trying some of these things out on your own. I hope that it has a big impact with your kiddos.
It's very hard for me.
But you're doing it.
And I'm trying.
Yeah. And using that Disco library, using the resources that are out there, I think that that's a great way to start as you start to fine tune how to use these tools with your students and with your community. And then, take the training wheels off and you'll be good to go. I truly believe that, David.
I had a question about Meet.
Okay.
When I share my screen, it does not allow me to simultaneously see student faces. So I go blind. Fortunately, I've had a peer colleague with me who's been able to watch the chat box. Any workaround or any Band-Aid?
The only thing I can think about is having it pulled up on two different devices at the same time. One where you might have their faces and also having the chat going. That might be a limitation. That is kind of why I use a moderator system. So being able to either tell them that we're not going to use the chat feature and instead we're doing a session with 130 people. If you have 25 in your class, it make more sense for them to be able to verbally ask a question and pause that way.
Yeah, yeah. Other than it then becomes people stepping on each other. But yeah, I'll send a note to whomever the Meet Help box and inquire and request.
I would encourage you to. I have been at a Google office when they've received feedback before, and then I've seen those features show up a couple months later.
Right,
They
okay.
are retooling things pretty quickly right now for Meet,
Right.
so I would give them that feedback.
I did, just by the way, different than your turn on and turn off access. I read that if you give the students your alias name or your session name, one requires you, the organizer, to be there before they can jump on.
Okay.
Why, I have no idea, but that's what the write-up said. So I'll test it, but okay.
Cool.
Thank you, and thanks for a very productive week for me.
Awesome. You're welcome, Dave.
Take care.
You too.
Hi, I didn't see the filters. Could you just tell me where they are?
Sorry, the filters, can you, on the Disco library filters, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, or whenever I record a video and I might want to put the Kermit face or whatever.
Okay. So I think that she had a physical Kermit the Frog that she held up.
Oh.
I believe. But in Flipgrid, they have the Help Center, and I would direct you there. So how to record. Go ahead.
So I could get some sunglasses or something.
Oh yeah. So after you, I don't know if you can put those on and like they'd move as you're recording, but for your selfie, those are all part of the selfie. And when you do that at the end, you can add those stickers in and be able to have them on your screen.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, any final questions that y'all have?
I just wanted to say thank you, and I appreciate all your knowledge and your ability